A little more than 60 years ago, on September 1st, 1963, the Avengers were born from the minds of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, comic book legends in the Marvel Company, to ally together Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Hulk, and the Wasp to fight against the wicked god Loki. Ever since that day, these heroes, along with over 100 more members, have fought to protect and save the planet, and even several universes. The multiverse itself. From universal, multiversal, interstellar, planetary, and common threats at home. Hi, I'm the Red Ronin, and today I'm going to rank each of these characters on a tier list. These won't be in specific order of who I think is the best out of all these, but I'm going to put them into S, A, B, C, D, E, and F tiers based on A, their powers, B, their character development, who they are as a person, why they should matter, C, you're gonna judge them on weapons, and finally, D, what they bring to the team. They can be good as an individual character, but they may not always be good as an Avenger, which is something that should be taken into account when you're building a team. Anyways, let's get started. Iron Man. Iron Man is a genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist who was kidnapped by terrorists in the Middle East and forced to work on war machines for them before, with the help of dying scientist Ho Yinsen, he managed to free himself and build the first ever Iron Man armor. A giant gray golem made of the strongest metals to break out, slaughter his captors, and eventually break free and learn the lesson that despite all of his wealth, he's only making the world a worse place, when in reality, he should be bettering it. So, he decided to become Iron Man, with newer suits with hot rod red and golden metal. He managed to shut down all of his weapons industries and became a hero that later, though in the movies he's the leader, in both circumstances he's mostly shown as the funder and also scientific brains behind the operation. Because of the fact of his exploits and also introduction and addition to almost every Avengers roster, he's gonna go S tier. Because he's the invincible armored Iron Man for a reason. He's one of the most legendary heroes alive, and if there is a superhero Hall of Fame, Iron Man would definitely be one of the first people to be signed up. Thor. Thor is based off of the Norse god of thunder, who in Marvel Comics actually is the god of thunder. Although in the original mythology he has red hair and his hammer is just incredibly heavy, this version of the powerhouse summons massive beams of lightning with an enchanted hammer known as Mjolnir, who only grants its powers to the most worthy, the most noble, the most humble, and the most dedicated to saving others' lives. Thor has managed to take down gods and is considered one of the most powerful Avengers members in existence. I would also put him S tier, but Thor has but yeah, he's S tier. You can't really go beyond that. Ant-Man. Now, the first version of Ant-Man we're going with is the chronological order, Hank Pym. Hank Pym is the original creator of the Pym particles, which allow people like him to shrink and grow. And he created the helmet that allows him to speak with other ants. However, although many people might be able to consider him a founding Avenger and scientific mind behind some of the greatest exploits, he hasn't really been there. They revealed in the 2008 storyline Secret Invasion that ever since around the early 60s, he was taken by the Skrulls. He was one of the first victims of the invasion. And as a result, more than half of his memories in the Avengers can't be his. So although it pains me to say this, I'm going C tier for him. Founding Avenger? Yes. However, he does not have enough contributions as his own person and not a Skrull doppelganger for him to truly be that high. Wasp. Now, Wasp was introduced in an Ant-Man issue as the partner of Ant-Man. Although she has similar abilities in shrinking and growing, she also has laser-like projectiles that she can shoot at people in order to disorient or even knock out people if she shot them in the brain or other vulnerable spots of their body. She is also one of the perkiest members of the team, who even gave them their name, the Avengers. She used to be a mainstay for the Avengers during the early 60s and 70s comics. However, she later grew out of the Avengers and for a while wasn't seen in comics. She eventually gained a spot back into the spotlight in the early 2000s. However, it wasn't long before she was taken away again in Secret Invasion, and further logic goes on with her being in some variations of the team, not in other variations of the team. Also took a spot on the West Coast Avengers led by Hawkeye, but ultimately in the end, she's gonna go A tier. She has a lot of contributions to the group, and her character arc is one of the most inspiring, as she later learns that although she originally was a lovesick girl, she later realized that some people are not supposed to be as they be. Some people hide themselves behind facades, hide themselves behind masks, and she later grew to become her own person. Next, Hulk. Hulk is the strongest one there is. There really isn't much else to say outside of that phrase. He is the strongest one there is. In recent comics, they revealed that he gains his strength and mutation from the gamma radiation from a multiversal deity known as the One Below All. He has the power to take down any other member of the Avengers, and possibly most characters in all of fiction combined. He is the embodiment of pure strength, and there are very few timelines where Hulk can actually be put down because of such strength, durability, and power. However, in terms of the Avengers, he surprisingly does not have a lot of time in the actual team to work. Hulk was a member of the original Avengers for 3 issues before he got impersonated by an interdimensional alien known as the Space Phantom, which ruined his reputation with the Avengers and ultimately caused him to leave the team for another few years, leading Hulk on his own to become a separate hero with independent issues or appearances as members of the Defenders team. But as a whole, the Hulk isn't a big Avengers member, which makes me go C tier. Captain America. He is the embodiment of heroism, the embodiment of seeing darkness, destruction, and bullying as a whole take a grip on a person, and instead of being put down by it, he wants to help others and make sure that no one else sees the same fate as he did. And so he's lined up for military experiments to become Captain America, the super soldier extraordinaire with a vibranium shield. Now, although Captain America wasn't a founding member, he has definitely made his mark on it, as in almost every variation, he is the field leader and commander of the squadron. He is a symbol, not only to the Avengers, but the whole world, that superheroes can serve as a hope and inspiration to society, making him S tier. Hawkeye. Although a lot of people may underestimate Hawkeye, he is, because of his mastery of of archery arts and not having any actual superpowers, Hawkeye on his own is an impressive character. Hawkeye in the comics focuses upon his backstory as a circus man who stopped evil and tried to become a hero similar to Iron Man before he was later swayed by the opinion of the police and a confused Iron Man into becoming a temporary villain. Hawkeye later grew beyond that, became a member of the Avengers during Cap's kooky quartet phase in 1964, and decided to become a hero in his own right. He may be cocky, he may be headstrong, and he may be one of the first to rush into battle, but Hawkeye can also be a just and valiant leader. He has inspired the West Coast Avengers team by creating the team. He has led the Great Lakes Avengers, which is a somewhat spin-off, which none of those members are going to be in this ranking, but he led to the creation of new heroes in the Midwest. And he inspired the Kate Bishop Hawkeye, who some of you may know from the Hawkeye show, to be a hero in her own right. In the movies, he also does not have a lot of power, but he helped inspire Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch to join the Avengers in the end. He is not big enough to be S tier. There are very few members who can actually impact it. Actually, yeah, he is going to go A tier. Because of his contributions to the team, he goes A tier, not based on powers. Also, he is a very famous member of the Avengers, which means you have to be in at least C tier. Quicksilver. Quicksilver is a speedster extraordinaire who has been on rival with the Flash in several crossover comics between Marvel and DC Comics. He is a very protective little brother of his younger sister, Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch, and he has never served as a leader of a team, is emotionally unstable, and had a marriage with the Inhuman Princess Crystal, who will later be seen on the list, before he later got too angry and irritable to the point that he literally had to lie and ask Hank Pym to tell a story of how he's a Skrull in order to try and get some form of redemption for his actions. He is a huge douche. Hawkeye may be confident and brash and even annoying at times, somewhat similar to Quicksilver. However, Hawkeye in all cases will apologize for his actions. Quicksilver, on the other hand, won't. He's not a team player, he won't work with others, and the only purpose for him is to just get beaten. He's surprisingly one of the most underrated and also quickly beaten Avengers members in the main canon. As a result, I'm putting him E tier. Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff is another powerful member of the Avengers, who also made her debut as the last member of Cap's Kooky Quartet along with Hawkeye and Quicksilver. Quicksilver and Wanda Maximoff left the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in 1964 and decided to become heroes, not only to redeem themselves for their actions, but also become inspiring figures for the cause of the mutant kind, because a lot of people hated them at that time. I mean, this was also the era where the Sentinels were made. Wanda Maximoff is another emotionally unstable character. However, unlike Quicksilver, she will always try to take back her choices, and she will try to do her best to make up and do what's right. She has spent her time in almost every single Avengers team that she can throughout the years. Whether it be the main Avengers team until the early 70s, when Henry Geiger from the government forced them to make 7 members. She joined the West Coast Avengers, Force Works a few times in the main Avengers, and a lot of the other spin-off teams that are connected to the actual Avengers team members. Due to her power and her impact on the story, she's going to be another C tier. You know what? I'll put her as B tier. And I will also be moving Hulk to B tier. Hercules. Hercules is the Lion of Olympus, the Prince of Power. And for those of you who don't know what Marvel's version of him looks like, it looks like this. Swords, maces, axes, mostly shirtless, very promiscuous. He's basically the average drunk guy at your college frat party. But he also has the powers of a god. He has appeared on more Avengers teams than a lot of the people already mentioned, such as Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Hank Pym, and Hulk. However, most of the time he does not really do much on the team, outside of just serve as the big brawn and the comedic relief. As a result, he's going C tier. Black Panther. Black Panther is the king of Wakanda. The prince son of T'Chaka turned into a ruler of an intergalactic empire over the years. Although he was recently deposed and Wakanda became a democracy. The Black Panther is a symbol of power, a symbol of strength, and the guardian of the rare mineral known only as vibranium, which is nearly indestructible, cannot be broken by normal means, and has an ability to charge back kinetic energy to the point of knocking others out or even killing them. Black Panther has also become a member of the Avengers, somewhat similar to people who have become chairmen or just leaders in the past, such as Hawkeye, Wasp, Iron Man, Cap, and a few other members on this list. Honestly, gonna go A tier. He isn't big enough to be on the likes of Cap, Iron Man, and Thor. Those are the members that can't be beaten and can't be taken out of the team. However, he has definitely made his mark. The Black Knight. This legendary figure is the Black Knight. Inspired by the stories of his criminal uncle, who he seeks to repent their ways, and the legacy of the Camelocian lore. Dane Whitman takes upon the legendary blade of bloodlust, known as the Ebony Blade, and occasionally at times even a technological lightsaber when he seeks a break from the curse to fight against evil. Although he is normally a regular human, he has served as a leader of the Avengers. And not even West Coast, he's actually been a leader of the main Avengers team. He has served as a powerhouse that's on level with killing symbiote dragons and fighting against multiversal gods. However, that's every character in superheroes nowadays because you have to have some form of stakes, but also it makes it worse for power scaling. I'm going B tier. He has been on the team since the 60s, has a lot of stints and other similar issues. He's going B tier. Black Widow. Natalia Natasha Romanoff. In the comics, she's a lot more obscure than you'd think. She was on the Avengers team for a few years in the 60s, but after that she hasn't been on the team until the modern day. She is a very obscure figure in the comics as she has an occasional series that goes towards her way. She joined the Champions, and she was a part of the Mighty Avengers in 2006. Outside of that, she has not gained enough prominence to be a very good Avengers member. Is she a good person in terms of her story? Yes, however, most of his stuff has conspired and been demonstrated in stories involving S.H.I.E.L.D., Hawkeye, and Iron Man. As a result, she's going D tier. Not enough of a personal story to be C tier, and not enough Avengers membership or knowledge to just make her good. The Swordsman. Swordsman is another obscure figure from the 70s, as he is the first Avenger to die. He dies saving his romantic interest Mantis from the time-traveling Kang the Conqueror. However, he has been resurrected through plants. Plant aliens. Very weird, very ridiculous. I don't know why, but here we are. And besides it, though, he has had a few successors. Jacques Duquesne had some successors, but ultimately he is still the most famous swordsman of all time. Due to obscurity and a lack of impact, I would have put him in F tier. However, since he's the first Avenger to die and for such a noble cause, originally serving as a villain mentor of Hawkeye, later turning into a hero at his final breath, he goes E tier. Mantis, on the other hand, she hasn't been on an Avengers team since the 70s. She's most known for her work in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and her son just tried to destroy the planet with the Kotati plant aliens that I just mentioned earlier. F tier. I know that there are somehow a few Mantis fans out there, but she's going F tier. Beast. Now, this big, blue, furry guy is normally known for being one of the founding X-Men members, and is last seen in the X-Men 97 show, which has struck the nation, and I made a few skits for earlier. He's a great character on his own, until they turned him into an amoral asshole who kills his teammates just because they mess with his experiments. But during his time in the Avengers, he is a fun goofball with some scientific connection. The ideal beast. The peak beast. He's going C tier. He's never led the team, but he has enough of an impact as a fun, goofy character with further connections as just an important superhero that he can go there. Moondragon, another character from the 70s that no one knows. Fun fact, Drax the Destroyer from the Guardians of the Galaxy originally was a guy before he died and had his body reconstructed. And Moondragon, this little bald girl over here, was the daughter of Drax, who was taken by aliens from the planet Titan, yes, that Titan from Thanos and whatnot, and raised there to be a monk. Similar logic with Mantis, no comic, very little comic connection, mostly connected to another team, and even then very little logic at all. F tier. Hellcat. This baddie is actually one of the oldest members of the Avengers, as she was released in the 1940s around a similar time frame as Captain America, Namor the Submariner, and the original Human Torch. 1943, I believe. Her original purpose was to be a college-style artwork, just similar to Archie. Everyday exploits about her best friends, her boyfriends, basically the original Archie, before that shut down. And her character was repurposed into Marvel Comics by having her take up the mantle of a previous superhero known as the Cat. And she changed it into her own little brand called Hellcat. Now, the importance of Hellcat is that outside of recently trying to marry Iron Man and then breaking that off and him now marrying Emma Frost, they also have her serve as she married him in Hellstra, who is the son of Satan, saw his face, died, went to hell, then the husband went back to save her, then she got a few solo stars and is the best friend of She-Hulk. She hasn't done anything. I hate to say this, but she's an F tier. She hasn't done anything for the team, and all she has is cat claws. Dang it. Wonder Man. Wonder Man is a founding member of the West Coast Avengers and originally served as another Avengers villain who became redeemed. He is a man who thought he lost his company to Tony Stark. And as a result, he went under ionizing radioactive treatment created by Baron Zemo to become a living isotope. Eventually sacrificed himself, exerting all of his energy and blowing up. The Avengers were able to revive him, and he later renewed his career under an acting guise, allowing him to serve as a West Coast Avenger and a few other things in the past. He also led a group of Revengers, which went against the Avengers for all their fallacies in the recent 2000s era with all the moral decisions that have been tearing apart the entire country and the world. He goes D tier. Very important in terms of Avengers history, but also very insignificant. Two Gun Kid. Matthew Hawke is a cowboy from the Wild West. That's it. I like him as a character, but F tier. He has no logic behind him. He is practically useless. There is no point for his existence as the Two-Gun Kid. It's just a time traveler with revolvers. That's his entire purpose. Cool guy. If you read his books or you read the She-Hulk stories with him in it, he's actually entertaining. Or the Marvels Project, where he leads the Angel, Marvel's first superhero in terms of canon, for the 1940s, to become a hero. Otherwise, no use. Next. Carol Danvers, aka Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. Now, Miss Marvel has not commanded the Avengers, but has become a crucial part of it. Ever since the 70s, she has become a powerhouse, sharing the likes of powers from Kree warlord Mar-Vell. But then she got her powers lost by Rogue, and then she became Binary and Warbird for a while, and it's a mess with that. Point is, though, is that Carol Danvers is a hero in her own right, member of the U.S. Air Force, who later turned into a hero with several genetic experiments connected to said warlord met earlier, Mar-Vell, and a bunch of other stuff like that. She goes C tier, actually B tier, because she's had more connection overall than everyone in C tier so far. A few other stuff like that. Oh wow, I just realized there's still 93 left. Okay, I'm gonna have to rush some of this stuff up so that way it's in an hour-long video, hopefully. Falcon. Outside of he's Captain America now, which gives him higher ranking, but otherwise he's D tier. Outside of Captain America, he hasn't done anything for the team. Tigra. She's just half woman, half cat at this point due to a magic curse, and she dated Moon Knight. She's E tier. She-Hulk. She's in a lot more Avengers rosters than the past few members that I mentioned. And she definitely made her smashing things. But half of the time is literally smashing people. Like, she either smashes them in terms of punching them, or she fucks them. She somehow has more romantic relationships than more than 99% of the people in Marvel. I mean, the only four Avengers that I can think of on the moment who have had more time in bed than her are Hawkeye, Iron Man, Wolverine, and Spider-Man. And all of them have a lot of people. They all have over 10 romantic interests. But besides that, though, she's made her mark. She's been on a lot of teams. I'll put her D tier. Next, Photon Spectrum, Monica Rambeau. Captain Marvel, a lot of other names. She's been on the team, and I think she hasn't led it before, and she was hospitalized in the Destruction of Avengers Mansion issue. Not really much to her, but she has served as more of a important figure than everyone in F tier, so E tier. Star Fox, Thanos' brother, who changes people's emotions. There really isn't much else to say about him, F tier. Namor the Submariner, King of Atlantis, another powerful figure in terms of Marvel lore, who has punched the Hulk up into the air higher than most other people. There really isn't much to say about him. He's got wings on his feet for some reason. A lot of you saw Wakanda Forever and see that his motivation is trying to protect his people at any cost. And at this point, he's become closer to a villain than a hero, and he hasn't done much in terms of the Avengers. Another E tier. Dr. Druid. He's a very low-level sorcerer who simped for the ex-girlfriend of Kang the Conqueror and died before he was reborn. F tier. Sorry. Mockingbird. She's the co-leader of the West Coast Avengers alongside her ex-husband, Hawkeye. At that time, it was husband. Anywho, she was taken by the Skrulls after a few years stint as member and half leader of the West Coast Avengers. Her Skrull died. Hawkeye thought she died, cried a bit, until 2008 revealed she was alive after 30 years, since she died in 78, and she came back in 2008. So, that happened, and she hasn't done much else. I'll put her in C tier. War Machine. War Machine's been on 2 Avengers. He's been on the West Coast Avengers, and he's been in some of the more recent stuff. Hasn't done anything major, but he's still not a bad character, D tier. The Thing. Great character in terms of personal story, as he is somewhat similar to the Hulk. He has been bullied since childhood, and has strength similar to the Hulk in terms of the fact that he can knock around Hulk several times and get knocked back, and not faint like more than half of everyone would if they had to go in a fight against him. It's clobbering time, and he just married to Alicia Masters. But doesn't really do much, as he's always a side figure in Avengers E tier. Moon Knight. Great personal character. The Fist of Khonshu, resurrected vigilante and mercenary Merc Spectre. He became Moon Knight, enhanced strength with the moon's rising, waning, waxing phases, and also managed to defeat the Avengers when Khonshu told him. He hasn't done anything major in terms of the Avengers, though, but he has done a decent amount in terms of Avengers, but not enough, so D tier. Firebird, Pyrokinetic Latina. There really is she doesn't have a lot of story. F tier. D-Man. Daredevil mixed with Wolverine mixed with Winter Soldier, and by Winter Soldier I mean the mind control part. F tier. Very little personal story. Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. Both of them are good members of their own teams, but they don't do anything in terms of the Avengers E tier. U.S. Agent. Knockoff Captain America, but always angry for some reason. E tier. Quasar. He is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who now controls the quantum bands. You may know that if you've seen the Miss Marvel stuff. But the quantum bands just allow him to create energy blasts and central to another dimension. Cool, but he doesn't do anything in terms of the team, so F tier. Human Torch Jim Hammond, same logic. Stingray, sorry bud. Spider-Man does a lot more, incredibly quippy, and he's in a lot more stuff than the others, so he goes D tier. Sandman. F tier because he quit the team in 2 seconds. Rage. They found out he was a kid in less than a year, so he got kicked out. Machine Man. He has more of a market and he's been on more teams, so he'll be a D tier. He'll be E tier. Living Lightning. He hasn't been relevant since the 80s, and they're bringing him back now. Hope they do something actually good with him, but otherwise, no. Julia Carpenter, aka Arachne, or in the modern case, Madam Web. No, she is not the main Madam Web in the Madam Web movie, which sucks. She's the one played by Sydney Sweeney, who we all know what we want to do. E-tier. Crystal. She married Quicksilver, but then she dated the Black Knight. Then Cersei forced the Black Knight off her by forcing a link on him. And most of her storyline has just been made to become a Bridgerton-style drama. E-tier. Thunderstrike. This was wasted potential. There is a man who is given the powers of Thor, while Thor would normally be able to handle more the supernatural threats of Asgard. There is also a more down-to-earth human Thor, known as Thunderstrike, who died in the 5th issue of a series. Maybe 35th, don't fully remember. Either he died before the 90s. Ended. E-tier. Darkhawk. F-tier. He's an incredibly awesome concept, but he doesn't do anything in terms of the team. While I'm getting this out here, Justice. He became a member as a teenager and is now currently a teacher who worked at both Avengers Academy and the Initiative, created by Tony Stark and Norman Osborn during separate points of their time. He's E-tier, not relevant enough though. Firestar, known from Serenity and his amazing friends from the 1970s. Not really much else, she's just there to be there. Next. 3D Man. He has nothing in mind. He creates illusions, and there are too many people who can create illusions, and he has no other gimmick. I don't even know if he already got on the team. Silverclaw. Basically the adopted daughter of Jarvis. No other reason. I'm putting her E-tier because she's the adopted daughter of Jarvis. Jarvis isn't going to be on the list since he's not an official member who helps save people, but he's a goated guy. Scott Lang, Ant-Man. Similar to Hank Pym, but better. But in terms of Avenger-wise, he's going D-tier. Lionheart, aka the first Captain Britain to join the team. She's a single mother who gained the Sword of Right, and another person who has no major relevance. Next. Okay, I feel like I'm just gonna check something for a second. Okay, so yeah, next person will be Jocasta. Jocasta is originally supposed to be the robot bride of Ultron made out of Wasp's husk. That didn't happen, and she's just a plot device. Next, E-tier. Jack of Hearts, living atomic bomb, sacrificed himself to save Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie. And then he was resurrected by Scarlet Witch to blow everyone up. And he came back recently. He's going E-tier for his sacrifice. Outside of that, there's nothing else really relevant with him. Okay, now we are going in the new Avengers era. Well, the old team died, and now we're having the new Avengers. Luke Cage, Bulletproof Man, leader of the new Avengers, big hero, but not enough. He'll go C-tier. Wolverine, the Avengers X-Men liaison, and awesome guy overall, but he's never led a team or done anything like that. B-tier. Sentry, multiple personality disorder who manages to, let's just say, blow a lot of stuff up, rip a lot of people apart, not much else. Ares, God of War. Another logic, he's not that important, but he's more important than everyone in F-tier, so that goes there. Amadeus Cho, who's become Brawn, the new Hulk, but outside of that, he is a Mastermind Excel when he joins the team and has no power, so F-tier. Statue Cassie Lang, E-tier, barely does much in terms of the Avengers. Jonas, same logic, he is the Vision 2.0 before OG Vision came back. Speaking of, you know what? Because I don't know if I can find my Vision photo in the moment, I'll rank him as Vision because I forgot to do that. Vision Vision's another important character and the husband of Scarlet Witch. Also, sorry for making it a much later presence than it's supposed to be. He's going B tier. He's in the same tier as his wife, Scarlet Witch. He's a very relevant figure in terms of the comics. He is a legendary figure who has led the Avengers several times as a chairman, but also made a sacrifice. But also, he's just a generally chill guy, whether it's the movies, the TV shows, or the comics. It'll work that way. Winter Soldier. In the movies, he does a lot more than he actually does. He became Captain America for a while, but outside of that, there's no other point for him in the Avengers. Spider-Woman. She became a team coordinator, but that was her as a Skrull, so E tier. She used to be regular, and in the Avengers, that part happened. But then, she got captured by the Skrulls pretty quickly, so most of her teammate stuff doesn't matter. Valkyrie. Major character in the comics. And, in my opinion, the comic version of her is better than her movie version. Because she's not a depressed drunk, and she just is a genuinely happy, somewhat Thor-ish style figure. But before she could do much in the comics in terms of an Avenger, she died and got merged with Annabeth Chase and then died with that, so. Next. Ant-Man O'Grady. He died before he could do anything major as an Avenger, and he didn't even do it in a good way, so F tier. The Immortal Iron Fist. I hate to say this because it's a terrible show. Defender of K'un-Lun, sworn enemy of the Hand. He goes C tier. And because I just realized that there are a few characters who could probably be moved up to C tier. Spider-Man, She-Hulk, Wonder Man are going with him, and Jessica Jones is going to go D tier because that's her logic. She helps become a moral compass for Luke Cage as he joins the Avengers and eventually marries them, but not much else. Red Hulk, he's an E tier. Again, redemption story, Thunderbolt Ross, but he got cured in 3 years, and he didn't do anything of relevance during his time. Daredevil. Great character in terms of his own, doesn't do much in terms of the Avengers. Iron Fist, on the other hand, actually served as Daredevil on the Avengers and did important stuff, but not anymore. Storm. Similar logic with E tier. She has done nothing. Quake, E tier. Captain Britain, hate this, F tier. Agent Venom, aka Flash Thompson, F tier. Okay, now we're getting to actual relevant people. Rogue. Rogue was the leader of the Unity Squad. She goes C tier. Havoc. He goes D tier as one of the more relevant members of Unity Squad. Sunspot and Cannonball both go E tier. They're relevant enough to be included, and not F tier, but still. I'm just going to do a bunch of characters because there are so many terrible E tier worthy characters in this ranking. Manifold, Teleporter. Captain Universe dies before she's relevant and barely matters. Hyperion. Superman clone that doesn't do anything of relevance somehow, even though he's supposed to be the new figure and Squadron Supreme and whatnot, but they just change a lot of plot lines over. Ex-Nihilo and Abyss, both of them die before they could do anything relevant within a year of their first appearance. Night Mask, he's literally unknown. This guy's unknown. Starbrand dies in 3 years of his first appearance. Doombot, he goes E tier because of his stuff in Runaways, but as an Avenger and Avengers AI, not great. Victor Macha, and whoever this is, I don't fully remember her. Avengers AI, she's down. Nope. Blade, he's a lot more relevant, and he's actually useful in terms of the Avengers. C tier. Blue Marvel, he goes E tier. Cool character, not good Avenger. Powerman, Victor Alvarez, could have been a good concept, they don't use him well. White Tiger, Kalu, who is a Doctor Strange Sorcerer style stuff. They are D tier. No, sorry, F tier. E tier will go for Dr. Voodoo. He's an incredible character, and I hope they do more with him. Remember the Savage Avengers, but that's not an actual team in the canon. Well, it's an actual team in the canon, but not an official team. E tier. The Mighty Thor. She was in there for 3 years and she did barely nothing. Next, Miss Marvel. She'll go D tier. Miles Morales also goes D tier. Deadpool. Cool, but he's gonna have to go with his namesake D tier. Smasher. F tier all the way. Oh, no, it actually gets Synapse. Either way, F tier. She is not relevant. There's no point to her existence. Johnny Storm. Human Torch. He goes for the rest of the 4 E tier. Cable hasn't done anything relevant for the Avengers, so he is E tier. Ghost Rider. Robbie Reyes. He's done a lot more than the others, but in the end, hasn't spent enough time as his own character, and they're trying to BS their way with logic as the All-Righter, which I'm personally not a fan of, making new characters and setting them up to be the Messiah in an already established universe. So, he's D tier. Starbrand, not enough character development, and I'm pretty sure she's gonna die soon because her powers have now aged her to a grown-ass woman. She's out. Nighthawk, redemption story, otherwise boring. I prefer the original version that they had in the comics, but that's not present anymore. Psylocke, hot Japanese girl with a British mind. Not much else though. M, done nothing of relevance in terms of X-Men or Avengers. She's F tier. Kate Bishop hasn't done much, so I'll put her in E tier, but she has potential and she's done a lot of the Kid Avengers. I hope that they do well with her. Hazmat, not a good concept. She's a walking nuclear reactor who acts as a supervillain half the time she's on screen, on the page. Next, F tier. Nadia Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, also known as Hope. She's the Wasp you'll mainly see in the Avengers movies and the Ant-Man movies. She'll go E tier because she hasn't spent enough time in the Avengers. This is called The City, I think, or something like that. It's a living city. I don't get how this works, so F tier. Lightspeed, aka Julie Power from the Power Pack. Used to be a kid. She grew up. I think she's a lesbian since she dated Carolina Dean, and Runaways might be bi. I don't know. She has not joined the team yet, so I will go E tier. Same logic with with Night Thrasher. They have potential, but they haven't done anything yet. And this is the team. This is everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to me today, and I hope you all have a great day. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll be back with new content soon. Bye now.